God had already promised Abraham that a great nation would rise through his son Isaac. It was a covenant built on a specific future, which makes the command in Genesis 22 so jarring. God instructs Abraham to take that very son to the hills of Moriah and offer him as a sacrifice. The request is phrased with agonizing precision. God says, "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love." With each added descriptor, the command narrows its focus. God is pointing directly to the person who represents Abraham's future and his deepest earthly affection. This creates a profound tension. For readers today, it raises a difficult question. Is this the act of an arbitrary deity, or is there a layer of meaning in the original language that explains the purpose behind such a request? To understand what is happening here, we have to look past the translation and examine the specific Hebrew terms that define the structure of this event. The text begins by stating that God tested Abraham. The Hebrew word is nissa, which describes the act of trying, proving, or examining the quality of a thing. Biblical writers often distinguish this kind of test from a temptation. While a temptation aims to lead someone into failure, a nissa is an evaluation intended to reveal the strength of a person's character through the pressure of a trial. This suggests that while God already knew the contents of Abraham's heart, the trial was the mechanism through which Abraham would discover the depth of his own devotion. The command acted as a clarifying moment, forcing Abraham to decide if his relationship with the giver was more valuable to him than the gift he had received. Abraham's obedience is immediate and personal. He rises at dawn, saddles his donkey himself, and cuts the wood for the fire with his own hands. There is no hesitation and no attempt to delegate the preparation to his servants. He then begins a 3-day journey toward Moriah. That's 72 hours of walking in silence toward a destination where he expects to lose his son. Before he and Isaac ascend the mountain alone, Abraham tells his servants, "Stay here. I and the boy will go over there and worship and come again to you." The Hebrew word he uses for "we will return" is neshuv. This future plural verb expresses a conviction. Even walking toward a sacrifice, both he and Isaac will walk back down alive. He is moving forward in faith, trusting that God's original promise is still valid, even when the current command seems to negate it. At the summit, the moment of tension reaches its peak. Abraham builds the altar, places the wood, and binds Isaac. Isaac, a young man capable of overpowering his father, willingly submits. Together, they reach the absolute edge of the command as Abraham raises the knife. At that precise second, a voice stops him. The test is halted right as the action is about to take place, arriving early enough to spare the son, but late enough to confirm the father's intent. God declares, "Now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your only son from me." In Hebrew, lo chasakta, "you have not withheld," signifies that Abraham's surrender was complete. By letting the test proceed to the final moment of action, the genuineness of Abraham's surrender was proven, while the act itself revealed a God who provides mercy in place of judgment. Abraham looks up and sees a ram caught by its horns in a thicket. The animal was already there, prepared and waiting before Abraham even began his final action. Abraham takes the ram and offers it instead of his son. The Hebrew word tahar establishes a direct exchange, an innocent life standing for the condemned. Isaac, who was bound, is spared, while the ram is sacrificed in his place. This exchange on Moriah creates a blueprint for the entire sacrificial system that would later be established in the temple. It is the first time we see the principle of substitutionary atonement clearly demonstrated, the idea that one life can take the place of another. Abraham names the place Yahweh Yireh. Centuries later, Solomon built the temple on this exact same mountain, offering sacrifices for the people. This thread continues to Calvary, uniting these events geographically, as God offered his own son as the final substitute. Because Abraham held nothing back, he received his son back alive, along with a renewed promise that his descendants would be as numerous as the stars. The trial of Abraham teaches that living with God requires holding even our greatest treasures with open hands. In that act of surrender, we find that God is the provider of everything we need,